Good morning. Thank you for joining me. It is Saturday, the 19th of December, and this is my last Flosstube of 2020. So I'm very excited to wish 2020 goodbye and move on to 2021. In celebration, I've worn my very best hair this morning. This was my favorite wig. So I do wear wigs sometimes. It's a lot of fun for me since my hair can't stand up to doing really fun styles. And I get them from a great little shop here in Reno that specializes in wigs for cancer patients and other people who've lost their hair. Although the first time I went in to get mine, an elderly gentleman came in and he is actually a professional Elvis impersonator. So he was getting his Elvis wigs too while I was trying on all the different fun styles. So goodbye 2020. This is the best hair I've had all year. And on to stitching. First, stitching in action. I don't actually have any submissions this week, but they're always available on the website. If you have something you'd like to share, absolutely go for it. And if you just want to browse what other people have done, that's available on the website, and that's blueflowerstitching.com. I look forward to seeing many more exciting things from you. I do also have a few website updates in process, so hopefully by the end of the year those will be up, if not shortly after. So I look forward to seeing what you think of those, and they should be up over the next month or so, happening I think in stages. So also I do have one thing, not really stitching in action, but something I can show for the first time. For those of you who got the Black Needle Society winter box, I think it's the Nice List box, this was a design that they asked me to do for them. It's called Winter Blooms. And you can see beautiful finishing from Lois at Lady Dot Creates. She did this fun little chenille like edging where it's almost like a loose trim, and all of this. I love the way it's cross stitched across here, and she did this Bittersweet Velveteen for this one. So this was a lot of fun. I do have to confess I did make an error on this chart. One of the symbols, I think it's 541 or 514. This is all DMC except for a few overdyes, but it was one of the DMC colors. It's a light sort of grayish purple, and it has the wrong symbol in the key versus in the chart. So you've got one symbol that's showing up in the chart, not on the key. That's the one you're looking for, so my apologies. This will be generally available next year, so before I release it, I'll be sure and fix that. But there you go, a little sneak peek for those of you who didn't get the box. It was a lot of fun to do. I look forward to doing more from them. Now, on to what I'm stitching. I'm stitching several models, which I can't really show, but I have been able to get a little bit of personal stitching in. I'm working on the 2020 Pandemic Sampler from Sarcy Girl Stitches, Christine, and I have been stitching it on 40 count, let's see, what is it? Brown gray linen from xJudesigns. I've just started the top left corner and part of a bird. I haven't actually used any of the called for, which is not surprising because I got drunk with power, except in a shambolic 2020 kind of way. I don't actually have a plan for the color scheme. I just picked a color, started, and I'm adding one color at a time to see if it goes with what's already there, which frankly is a very 2020 approach, honestly. So I think it's reflective of the year as a whole. And I was thinking about the design because obviously it has, you know, two people on it. Two figures, and I was thinking, do I want to showcase or feature someone that I miss, that I'm not getting to see because of the pandemic? And instead I think I'm going to feature a new friend that I've made. So, you know, one of the positives to come out of this year. So thank you again to Christine. For those of you who don't know, you can get this through her links, and I'll put the information in the show notes, but this is a free chart that she's giving out to people if you want to make a donation to a local charity. Lots of people in need, certainly food banks all over the country can use as much help as they can get, but if you want to memorialize 2020 in some way, there's a good opportunity to do it. So that's what I'm stitching. Now for Stash Spotlight, I've pulled a Prarie Schooler thing that I've had in my stash for quite a while. Let's go back this way. And this is part of the Prarie Schooler alphabet. This is X, Y, and Z. And I bought it particularly, I don't have any of the other alphabet ones, just this one. But I bought it because of Y is for yarn. And I'm going to stitch that eventually for my aunt because she has Bengal cats. which look a little bit like those guys. And she's an avid knitter, so I thought that would be just perfect for her. I am going to do it. I don't know when, but it's definitely going to happen. Now, I have seen people do the whole Prarie Schooler alphabet, and it looks amazing. I don't know that I would have that huge a project in my schedule, but if 2020's taught us anything, it's that you just don't know what's going to happen. So it may be that I do the entire alphabet one day, but sooner rather than later, I think I'll do Y is for yarn. So that's my stash spotlight. The world around. This week, I picked the Northern Harrier hawk, and I didn't realize they're actually not as common as a lot of other kinds of hawks, but they happen to be one that I see most often right here where we live. We have wetlands right around our house, and they hunt there. They're also out and about at the same times that I am, early morning and late evening, so I see them quite a lot. And unlike a lot of other hawks, they can hunt by sound. So you'll see them hanging low and just flying low over the wetlands and over the fields while they do their hunting. There was actually one in our yard yesterday when we went out for the first time, because we ground feed birds here, and they hunt those birds sometimes. But interesting things, the face looks a little bit like an owl, and I got quite a close-up. I think the first summer after we moved here, there was a juvenile who was growing up at that time, and he would perch on the fence in the park, and so I would see him almost every day, get a fairly good look at his face. And they also can do a sky dance, it's called, in courtship, where they have the two hawks and they're just doing big, like, looping circles together. Apparently it's beautiful. I've never seen that, but I have seen the display that the males do beforehand. So again, maybe that juvenile was putting on his display, flies up high and just swoops down and then starts doing big loops in the air. It's really impressive. In the winter, they roost on the ground, which I didn't realize, in groups, and sometimes with short-tailed owls. So always nice to see animals that are cooperating to get along and survive the winter. So that's it, the Northern Harrier for this week. Beautiful, beautiful birds, and I'm very fortunate to get to see them pretty often here. Questions from viewers. I had a question from Laura. She was asking about fabric recommendations specifically for Tiger. And I pulled that model here so we can look at it. I know I've discussed it before, but just to illustrate a few things. She was asking for color recommendations, and fabric can be very tricky in normal times. It's a little bit harder now, especially since so many of us can't go off to the shop, put our flosses on the options, and choose the one that really works for us. So in addition, fabric can be expensive, and you hate to waste money on something you don't love. Also, you spend a lot of time stitching this and then even more time looking at it on the wall, so you don't want to have something that you're not really happy with. So the way that I would approach choosing a fabric is first to pick the threads that are really important. So it could be the thread that you pulled from your stash that you really most want to use. In the case of Tiger, I would say it's probably the colors of the tiger, so you need to make sure all those are going to show up. And then this figure, because they have small details for, feet and hands and face, whatever color you use for that skin tone needs to show up. So I would say pick a color that's going to allow those to go. Now, when I did this, I initially started stitching the tiger on a beautiful deep colored, like almost night sky colored fabric, and parts of it were fantastic. The white and the orange really showed up so amazingly, but unfortunately things like the nose would absolutely disappear, and it made the tiger look very awkward. So it has to be a color that the key things are going to show up, and then from there you can just adjust whatever else you need to add in. So once you've got a color that makes, your essential fabric or your essential fibers show up, then you can start picking things and see if they work on your fabric or not. So getting a better look of whether they show up. And it would certainly be easy for this particular one to change the colors of lanterns or edging or things like that. Those are the easy ones. So just like a lot of things, painting, go with the one that's the hardest and the most important to match, and then everything else can go along from there. I also suggested to Laura, and it might be an opportunity for a lot of us, since it can be tough to wait for fabric that you don't know will work in the first place, to try maybe coffee or tea dyeing some fabric at home. I haven't done it with linen, but I've done it with other fabrics, and it's a lot of fun. It's not as intimidating as I thought it was. You don't need any special equipment, and there are a lot of good videos out there of how it's done. I think Priscilla and Chelsea have a really good tutorial on how they do it. The nice thing, especially with coffee and tea, is that you can kind of build it up in layers. So you do a little bit of a change. If you've got an old piece of white fabric that isn't really working for you, you can change a little bit, let it dry, see what you think, and then maybe layer up a little bit more until you get something that you really like. And certainly you could do that with a dye like Rit instead of coffee or tea if you wanted a different color. So might be a fun thing to try in our new adventures year as we wait for fabric, since it's such an important thing. So that's that. As always, if you have any questions, submit them in the comments to this video, or you can email me through the website. I'd love to hear from you, and any questions that you have. We're all figuring this out together, so it's nice to share the information that we have with each other. All right, let's see. I feel like I have skipped something, but I haven't. So, best thing this week, onto the list. First thing is we have our holiday ornaments up, which is always exciting. It's a bit of work because we have a number of trees, but we've been collecting ornaments. I have been since before I got married. My husband and son also, we collect ornaments every year, and they each have a tree that's particular to them and their favorite ornaments on it. So I've got two here that I pulled off the tree just to show. This first one is one of my favorites. We've got Santa, obviously, but he's got this beautiful bag of night sky fireworks. And what a thing. I love this. This is one that I've had for, oh gosh, probably 20 years, and always a favorite of mine. So I love to see him come out. The next one is this sort of garden, beautiful ball of so many flowers. You know how much I love flowers. So we've got this guy. And again, this is one that I've had for a very long time. So it always gets pride of place on our tree, although the placement of ornaments tends to vary a little over the years, depending on what we're guarding against, whether it's dog tails down below or the ability of someone to reach ornaments from the corner of a sofa. Pilsner, when he was just a kitten, a tiny, tiny kitten, managed to bring down our entire tree. You know, the whole thing, lost several ornaments there. So for the rest of Pilsner's life, until now, when he finally doesn't do it anymore, the tree was always safety wired to the wall and the ceiling. We used to put all the most durable ornaments, the wooden ones, the straw ones, down at the bottom, so if the cats were kind of batting around, they wouldn't be hurt. But now with Rye here, we've had to realize that the wooden ones are the most appealing to chew on, so things are sort of shifting back and forth up and down the tree as we figure out what's working. Rye's doing pretty well overall, but she's a little bit excited about the trees, so we have to keep a close eye on her so she doesn't just pull ornaments off and potentially hurt herself, since a lot of them are made of glass and we hate to lose any of the memories with those. So I hope you all have, for whatever holiday you're celebrating, some good memories, some chances even in a different year to have some good experiences, maybe make some new memories, and certainly look forward to more good times to come. So that's the best thing this week. Now, final point, the giveaway from last week. I was hearing all about cookies from all of you, so thank you. You've made me very, very, very hungry. And the winner of that, I'm going to say this wrong, but I'll put it down here on the screen. It's Delaley1, anyway, whose favorite Christmas cookie is a peanut butter blossom, which I think is the peanut butter with the Hershey Kiss in it, but I love those. That sounds good. Anyway, get in touch with me. I'll try and reach out through the comments as well. You got the Winter Valentine chart and the little Zappy Dot needle minder to go with it. So thank you all for participating. For this week, I am giving away the next in the Sampler of the Season series from Brenda Gervais, With Thy Needle and Thread. And let's get a proper close look here. This is the winter one. I think it has some beautiful details. It's not a huge stitch. It's got these snowflakes in both the snow bank here and up throughout. Might be a really fun thing to do with a toile or even a metallic thread if you wanted to give that a try in a way that wasn't super threatening. So To win this, give me a comment that mentions the word cozy. Since we're all hunkered down at home, something cozy. If you're in the southern hemisphere, cozy may be a bit of a stretch, but do your best as you're probably in a heat wave. But hopefully you have a cozy memory you can mention. And say that in the comments so we can get this given away this time. This is my last Flosstube, as I mentioned, of 2020. It's been a tough year in so many ways, but there have been some really great things, and one of them is the chance to actually start doing these Flosstubes and connect with so many of you. I really appreciate that, and I can't thank you enough for being a silver lining in these times. So I look forward to seeing you much more in 2021, and I hope your year wraps up as positively as it possibly can. There's some puppy video at the end, of course. If you're just here for the cross-stitch talk, we're done with that. And if you want to see the life of Rye, it's another couple minutes coming at the end. Happy 2021, and I will see you in 2 weeks.